Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or those endless social media posting things that people often do. To generate leads on LinkedIn, you have to stop marketing on LinkedIn. But to find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. On today's show, we have Bob Kulhan, and he is the owner of Business Improv, where they use techniques derived from improvisation to transform people, culture, and organization. So I'm looking forward to this. So welcome to the show, Bob. And I want to ask you the question I always start off with. And the question is this: if you were to be able to go back in time to when you started your very first business, and I know just before we started this, you said you've been in for over 20 years now, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Jason, glad to be here. It's a great question to start off with. And yes, we are actually on our 26th year, about to start number 27, as a matter of fact. And as I think back to starting off in Chicago, moving from theatrical and comedic improvisation to business improvisation, I developed I already had an incredible work ethic. However, it became really intense and it caused anxiety in me. And so if I was gonna, whisper something in my ear as a 27-year-old, when I started my business, it would be take breaks, take vacation, moderation in all things, space things out, celebrate the wins when you can, and just, understand that all the work will get done. It just doesn't need to be done immediately. So separate the needs from the wants. Separate the things that need to be done versus the things you want to be done.
Yeah, I love that. So many lessons in that as well. I mean, we always hear balance and moderation, work-life balance and all that. But I love just what you said, just being able to rest and take all those things in moderation, which is really, really, really cool. I'm going to deviate from some of the questions I normally ask around this because I love this whole topic of improv. And I'll just say this little bit, so because a lot of people won't know this about me, but I'm very introverted, but I did a lot of youth drama when I was a kid, and we did a lot of improv work. My brother's a million times better at it than I am, but it's amazed me how much it's helped me in business. And I do a lot of speaking and speaking from stage and things. And I get complimented a lot on stuff, and it's interesting because I was just speaking at something yesterday. So, oh, you're so good speaking, but a lot of it is improv, just knowing how to riff off people. And you don't have to be funny because I'm not. My brother's the funny one, but being able to know how to go back and forth with that. So that's one of the questions I want to ask, just for some context behind that, is when we are looking at business. I'm like, oh, improv, I don't need to be funny. And I think there's a misconception that improv has to be funny. It's about how you deal with people. And I'd love to get your insights on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad to hear that as an introverted person, you found your voice, you're able to activate your voice, and you found comfort with that as well. Because, of course, still globally, if it's not the number one fear, it's one of them, public speaking, ultimately. So I'm glad that you were able to take that on, and kudos to you.
Yeah,
So the
cheers.
way that we define improv in my organization, Business Improv, is on three core competencies, which is reacting, adapting, and communicating. Reacting is focus, it's concentration, it's presence, be here, be now. Improv only takes place in the now. Adapting is, well, who are you doing this with and why are you doing this and what are the outcomes and what are the parameters, So you're reacting, adapting. Subroot to both of these is communicating. As we're not in space or a vacuum, there's always someone with whom we can react and adapt, or something in our environment to which we should react and adapt. Now, none of this is comedy. That's an outcome of improvisation. Just like If you watch any cooking competitions, what they're doing on the television is not comedy. They're taking ingredients that they didn't expect and putting together in a meaningful, thoughtful, and impactful way. Same thing with sports. So, and military, and the list will go on and on and on who has to improvise, including business owners with unexpected problems, challenges, things that clients, external forces are saying, key stakeholders are saying, internal forces are saying, new developments. We're always reacting and adapting and communicating. Ultimately, then, this is a learned skill set. And you can get better at it or worse at it depending on the type of training you do, how often you do the training, how often you embrace the tenets of improvisation to ultimately succeed, and your desire, of course. And once again, circling back around to you, you found that as a base early on in your youth camp. You're able to practice it over and over again to get consciously competent and potentially even unconsciously competent that you're not even thinking about it anymore. And now it's part of your skill set through reps.
Yeah, I love that. So when if someone's listening to this, they're a business owner, like, okay, how does improv actually help me? Um, I know there's a million ways. I know people get stuck and like, I just don't get it, Bob. Like, how does improv help me as a business owner or help my team? What are some of the key tips that or problems that you have seen it solve within in businesses or organizations?
All right, let's propose this in two ways very quickly. And I'm talking to you, Jason, and you're representing every business owner in the entire world. All right.
No pressure, no pressure.
All right, you've prepared, you've done your due diligence, you know your audience. Presentation 101 is right there. You can communicate to the audience on their terms. And have you ever gone into a situation that you think this is going to be easy? You're going to present really fun stuff, cool stuff, and they're going to like the content because they like you already. And instead of it being super easy, you're getting pushback. People are poking holes in what you were doing, some resistance. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yes.
Okay, let's look at that from a slightly different angle. You've done it again, Jason. They love you. You love the content. You've done the hard work, the homework. You're ready to go, and there's no question about this that you can't answer. And then they start answering questions that you didn't prepare for, and you can't BS your way through it. You can't just lie and go on some weird tangent. That's going to jeopardize your brand, your integrity, your scope of work, all sorts of things. And you can't just keep tabling it. You can't just say, "Oh, that's a good question. I'll get back to you on that." That's a good question. I'll get back to you on that. That's a good question. You're going to look incompetent, right? So you have to answer and you have to do it in once again, a meaningful, thoughtful, and impactful way, and then stay within the parameters of your scope, your brand, whatever it might be. Has that ever happened to you?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. So these are just two ways that improvisation is meaningful and impactful ultimately because you have to be, once again, react, adapt, communicate, be present, be in the moment, not get caught in your head about like, oh, I didn't expect that, and get the performer anxiety, or, well, this is outside of it. And then you start pushing back on the pushback, which just creates resistance and awkward tension. You have to
Yeah.
be willing to go with the flow and ultimately do it within the parameters that you have in place for your company, your brand, your integrity, all of the stuff that's needed to ultimately get the job if you're in a sales pitch, uh, execute the job if you are in a compromise, a collaboration with a client, and ultimately get another job from it, build the relationship. And so, at its core, what we're talking about are people skills. And that means the relationship building skills. And there, in what business are you not in a relationship building business?
Yeah, absolutely. Every business is relationships on some level.
Now, on some level, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. I again, I love this topic and for everyone listening to this, I would encourage you to look somewhere, whether it's Bob or something, take some improv classes, do something. Like the
Yes.
amount that it will help you out is it's I don't like using these words because people, it sounds real grandiose, but it is actually life changing. It's so incredible how much when you just know how to kind of bounce things off of people, it's quite fun.
Yeah. And, it is grandiose, a little hyperbole to say life changing. And yet, for many people, it can be. It can be that missing piece of the puzzle that you just didn't know need to be put into place that then elevates so much of your life, not only in your business, the baby that you created, maybe with the babies inside your house and the partners that you have inside your house as well. Because again, what we're talking about are core people skills, human
Yeah.
connection skills. And this is part of who we are in life. And if you can get better at that, then you're creating a really strong base on which you can build in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Well, but this is a little bit of a different question. It's more about challenges in your own business, and I love asking this question because we all have challenges, and I think normalizing that amongst business owners, going, do you know what? You're not alone. You're not weird. There's nothing wrong with you. We all face them. I'd love to know, like, what's the number one challenge you've had in your business, if you feel comfortable sharing that, and what's the lesson you've learned from that?
As a again quarter century entrepreneur running my own business, number one challenge, can I give you like the top number ones?
Yeah, go for it. Go
It just
for it.
like where how about the current climate? The things outside your control always will be a top challenge, right? So
Yeah.
current climate is in 2025, October 2025. Let's start with the government, whether you like it or not. It's so much rapid change and chaos that's taking place. Restructuring in academia, restructuring in corporate business, restructuring the social aspect of what's going on. That on its own turns a lot of business on its ear, which in times of chaos and risk and uncertainty and crisis, first thing businesses do is cut training and development and travel, right? They cut these quote unquote unnecessary expenses as opposed to reinvesting in their talent. They cut that, and that's the core of our business. So the ebbs and flows of this, which we saw in 2008 with the financial crisis and the recession and government shutdowns in 2013, and it'll move on from there. It's part of the challenges, yet the things outside of our control are, grossly in a very general way, the number one challenge.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great point on there. Is we're always going to have those, and which leads back to when you have a challenge, you got to improv on what you're doing. You got to learn how to pivot. You got to learn how to just roll with the punches.
What's the alternative? You
Well,
keep doing the same
shut
thing
down.
over and over again and expect a different result. You give up,
Yeah,
you find a new job. I mean, what are you going to do if you don't pivot, if you don't adapt?
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, over the next 2 to 3 years, and I know, as you said, there's a lot of changes and things happening, but over the next 2 to 3 years, where would you like to see yourself in your business? What's your goals?
My goal is continue to reach across the world and find great people who understand this and can continue to communicate it. So, how about global domination?
That works. Hey, man, you might as well go for that than nothing, right?
Might as well. You said it before. I've said it, I don't know how many times in the last quarter century. Improv is, if everybody takes a bit of improv, the world will be a better place. And
Yeah.
so, if there's a way to pass this around to people, and you said it, if it's not going to be from me in business improv, take it from, anywhere, anywhere. As long as have comfort with your teacher and your class and the environment in which this is all taking place, then you can learn core tenets of improvisation all over the place. And if not, find me. I'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of finding you, what's the best way for people to do that, Bob?
Hey, yeah, thank you, Jason. So, if you are, let's say, an introvert like Jason, you find our online program. We have a program on Teachable called Improvisational Communication. You could buy it, you can own it, you could do it out of your house, and you're gonna learn these real techniques by going through a program with this dork right here. Otherwise, find Business Improv online, or find either Business Improv or Bob Kulhan on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And a little tick there, or trick there. He used self-deprecation, which is always very good. So thanks for that, Bob. Appreciate it, guys. Check him out. Wonderful, just amazing chatting to you. Really good stuff here. So thank you very much. And as a reminder for everyone, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of those old traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn. That's Jason A. Osborn on LinkedIn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. Until next time, stay inspired.